Buddha's relics made entirely of diamond? Did the Buddha leave 84,000 relics after his cremation? Welcome back, everyone, to Mind Podcast. The relics of the Buddha Sharira are considered a miraculous treasure left behind after the Buddha's parinirvana. However, their composition remains a mystery that has intrigued scientists. It wasn't until a professional experiment by a diamond expert using modern tools and instruments that surprising secrets within the Buddha's relics were uncovered. Today, we will explore the mystery surrounding the Buddha's relics. More than 100 kilometers west of Xi'an lies a small district called Fufeng, known throughout Chinese history. Here stands the ancient Famine Temple, built during the Eastern Han Dynasty. Originally named the Ashoka Temple, it was later renamed Famine Temple by Emperor Gaozu of the Tang Dynasty, Li Yuan. The temple's most famous structure is the 13-story octagonal pagoda. It is said that this pagoda houses a rare and sacred treasure of Buddhism. However, apart from references in ancient texts, no one had ever seen these treasures. Even the abbots of the temple, handed down through generations, had never spoken of their existence. As a result, these relics were regarded by many as mere legends. On the morning of August 24, 1981, thunderstorms raged and rain poured relentlessly. At that time, many monks were sitting in the Mahavira Hall of Famine Temple, led by the abbot Master Chang Guan, chanting sutras together. Simultaneously, thousands of miles away, monks at the Ashoka Temple in New Delhi, India, were also reciting scriptures under the leadership of Master Hui Guo. At the same time, monks at the Jungkong Temple in Yangon, Myanmar, led by Master Xie Neng, were continuously chanting. The monks in these three temples were all chanting the Nirvana Sutra. The reason? Each of the three masters had a deep premonition that something profound and catastrophic was about to occur. Around 10 a.m., as the chanting continued, Master Changguan widened his eyes, sensing that the moment had come. He gestured with his hand, signaling the monks to stop chanting. At that very moment, he looked out the window and saw a massive cloud approaching from the southwest. Suddenly, a jagged bolt of lightning struck directly at the pagoda. The top of the pagoda ignited, and a brilliant fireball shot upwards. Immediately after, a thunderous explosion shook the earth, as if the pagoda had been sliced in half by a razor-sharp blade. Half of the tower collapsed in the blast. The following day, the radio stations in India and Myanmar reported the incident, not based on official government sources, but from accounts provided by Master Hui Guo and Master Changguan. The three monks had foreseen the collapse of the pagoda and the emergence of the sacred treasure that Famine Temple had guarded for generations. 6 years later, in 1987, an archaeological team excavated the ruins of the tower and discovered an underground palace beneath Famine Temple. Inside the palace, the archaeologists uncovered a legendary treasure of Buddhism, the relic known as the Sharira of the Buddha, said to be a bone fragment from the finger of Shakyamuni Buddha. So what exactly are Buddha's relics? It is said that in 483 BCE, Shakyamuni Buddha attained parinirvana in the city of Kushinagar, which belonged to the Malla kingdom. This place is now a small village in the eastern part of India, known as Kashia. Following ancient Indian customs, the Buddha's disciple Ananda, along with others, cremated the Buddha's body. Ananda, who was both a relative of the Buddha in the secular world and his devoted disciple, cared deeply for the Buddha's well-being. After many hours, when the funeral pyre finally extinguished, Ananda and the others were astonished to find a few remains among the ashes: a finger bone, a piece of skull, several strands of hair, and 4 teeth. These relics remained intact, unaffected by the cremation flames. Among the ashes, something sparkled. Upon closer inspection, it turned out to be a collection of colorful, crystal-like objects. There were tens of thousands of these dazzling relics. Records mention that 840,000 shimmering objects appeared, and these strange items found among the cremation ashes were called the Buddha's relics, Sharira. In addition to the finger bone, these 840,000 relics were incredibly small, some the size of tiny vegetable seeds, others as small as grains of broken rice. The largest ones were no bigger than a pea. Moreover, the relics came in different colors, resembling multicolored gemstones. In Buddhist tradition, the black-colored relics are believed to come from the hair after cremation. the pearl-colored relics from the bones, and the red-colored ones from the flesh. Not only did the Buddha leave behind relics, but several of his disciples also left relics after their parinirvana and cremation. Prominent disciples such as Ananda, Mahamoggallana, and Ashvajit were said to have produced relics. However, the relics of the Buddha differ from those of his disciples. The Buddha's relics are described as transparent, like crystal, while the relics of his disciples resemble granite. There are many historical accounts of revered monks whose remains produced relics after cremation. For example, after the cremation of the eminent monk Huineng, more than 1,000 relics were discovered, resembling ordinary stones. In Buddhism, possessing a relic is considered a profound blessing, as it is regarded as a sacred object. However, many in the secular world dismiss the relics as mere superstition, believing they are nothing more than calcifications, such as kidney or gallstones, that remained after cremation, resulting from the monks' lifelong vegetarian diets. So from a scientific perspective, how are these relics formed? The most widely accepted theory is that these relics are the result of the immense spiritual power, wisdom, and compassion of enlightened monks, which crystallize into these sacred relics. Some believe that the formation of relics is linked to a lifetime of strict vegetarianism and prolonged meditation, during which cosmic energy is absorbed. Others suggest that the relics are the result of certain medical conditions. However, these theories are widely debated. If relics were simply the result of meditation or vegetarianism, why don't all monks who practice these habits produce relics after cremation? In fact, many people have followed a vegetarian diet for decades, even for most of their lives, and yet no relics were found among their ashes after cremation. Additionally, in Tibet, some monks consume meat, yet relics are still discovered in their ashes. In fact, Tibetan monks have often produced even more relics than those who adhered strictly to vegetarianism. This mystery was partially addressed in studies by physicists Holden of the United States and Kelly Mann of Monash University, Victoria, Australia. Their research revealed that crystals of various shapes can form during cremation if the cremation temperature is optimal. In the June 1995 edition of the Journal of Forensic Science International, they reported using an electron microscope to monitor the crystallization process in the femur bones of deceased individuals, ranging from 1 to 97 years old. The experiments subjected the bones to temperatures ranging from 200 degrees Celsius to 1600 degrees for periods of 2, 12, 18, and 24 hours. The results showed that the crystallization of minerals in the bones began to occur at 600 degrees Celsius, producing crystals of various shapes, spherical, hexagonal, tiny particles, and irregular forms. These smaller crystals could further combine into larger clusters when the temperature reached between 1000 degrees Celsius and 1400 degrees Celsius. However, when the temperature rose to 1600 degrees Celsius, the crystals began to break down. Thus, if the cremation conditions are appropriate, relics may form through the crystallization of the minerals that naturally exist in human bones. However, experts affirm that not everyone produces relics sharia during cremation. The highest likelihood of relic formation occurs only when all three of the following conditions are met. 1. The individual regularly practiced vegetarianism and meditation. 2. The individual had a history of medical conditions involving calcifications, such as stones. 3. The cremation was performed under optimal temperature conditions. One particularly remarkable aspect is that the relics of highly enlightened monks do not melt even when subjected to temperatures exceeding 1500 degrees Celsius. William Taylor, a physicist from Stanford University, along with a team of researchers, approached the mystery of relics from a different perspective. They sought to investigate the energy fields surrounding the relics. Dr. Misa Manchest, who completed specialized training at Stanford University, presented her research at the annual Conference on Consciousness Science at the University of Arizona in 2012. As an experienced scientist and a member of the Mayo Clinic's medical faculty, she stated the following: "I sensed visible radiation from the crystalline structures of the relics flowing directly into my heart center. It felt deeply personal and intimate, yet it also conveyed a sense of unity with all people and all things. There is nothing in ordinary experience quite like it." The researchers applied methods developed by Professor Kirlian to objectively measure what Dr. Manchest had experienced. They aimed to determine whether the energy truly emanated from the relics or if it was merely a subjective perception. Professor Kirlian's work focused on studying the physical effects that influence human consciousness. He proposed that there are two types of matter. 1. The first type consists of matter that can be measured using conventional sensors, such as atomic or molecular level particles. 2. The second type exists in the spaces between atoms and molecules, a form of matter that humans cannot normally perceive. This latter form, according to Kirlian's theory, possesses high levels of dynamic energy and immense power, akin to the qi energy described in traditional Chinese philosophy. Kirlian explained that he had found a way to detect this type of matter, but it could only be perceived and measured when it interacted or resonated with other atomic or electromagnetic particles. However, such interactions do not always occur, as these two forms of matter typically exist separately. His goal was to activate an intermediary substance called dirutron particles, which would facilitate interactions between these two types of matter. The research conducted by Kirlian and Manchest on relics, sharira, suggests that these objects are influenced by human thoughts. Although they were unable to study the relics in detail to reach precise conclusions, their findings indicate the presence of an unknown energy that interacts between the Buddha's relics and humans. The reverence and devotion shown toward the relics over thousands of years seem to have preserved them, without which the relics might have disappeared. The report also states that the molecules and atoms surrounding the relics are more densely arranged than in ordinary conditions, suggesting that these relics affect their immediate environment. Professor Kirlian's studies demonstrate that relics may store a certain amount of energy, which can influence those who worship them. However, part of this energy may also be transferred from the worshippers to the relics through their devotion. Furthermore, according to Dr. Max Planck, the father of quantum theory, no material object exists independently in the world. Matter is composed of continuously vibrating quantum particles. Energy and matter are intrinsically connected and can be converted into one another. Similarly, Dr. Barbara Ann Brennan explained that matter is simply energy in a slower state of motion, or energy that has solidified. Thus, the human body itself is also a form of energy. Based on these insights, it can be understood that individuals, especially enlightened monks, may absorb cosmic energy through meditation and spiritual practice. As they align themselves with universal energy, this energy crystallizes within their bodies. When this accumulated energy becomes sufficiently dense, it alters the body's cells, transforming them into higher energy matter, which manifests as relics, sharira. Currently, there are around 10 temples worldwide that publicly enshrine Buddha's relics, sharira. These include Feimen Temple in Xi'an, housing the Buddha's fingerbone relic; Lingguang Temple in Badachu, Beijing, enshrining the Buddha's tooth relic; Vajra Temple in Fengshan, Beijing, preserving a relic known as Buddha's flesh relic; Luifeng Pagoda in Hangzhou, holding the Buddha's hair relic; Qingshan Temple in Xi'an, preserving fragments of the Buddha's bones; Niutoshan Temple in Nanjing, housing the Buddha's skull bone relic; Buddha Palace Temple in Shanxi Province, enshrining the Buddha's relics; Golden Mountain Temple in Bangkok, Thailand, preserving the Buddha's bone relics; the Temple of the Sacred Tooth Relic in Kandy, Sri Lanka, enshrining a Buddha tooth relic; Todaiji Temple in Nara, Japan, holding Buddha bone relics. These relics are revered by Buddhists as treasures not only because they are believed to have been left behind by Shakyamuni Buddha, but also because they serve as tangible evidence of the indestructible diamond-like nature of the Buddha's teachings. It is said that even under intense fire, these relics remain crystal clear and exceptionally hard, symbolizing the timeless and unbreakable nature of the Dharma. While Buddhists see these relics as proof of the Buddha's teachings, scientific examination is still required to fully understand their extraordinary properties. However, this presents a significant challenge, as religious devotees are often sensitive about subjecting sacred objects to scientific investigation. In 2014, the Buddha Palace Temple in Shanxi became the first to send a Buddha tooth relic to the Andre Baby Diamond Certification Center for examination. This was a groundbreaking opportunity for the scientific community to explore the mysterious characteristics of the relic using modern technology. Upon inspection, the Buddha's tooth was found to be unburnt, with small crystal-like particles embedded on its surface. These tiny particles were identified as the Buddha's relics, sharira, further fueling fascination with their remarkable, otherworldly nature. The examiner, Dr. Cao Ben, began the investigation by first eliminating the possibility of forgery. He wanted to determine whether the small particles and surrounding material were artificial polymers, possibly added by later generations. Dr. Cao used infrared rays and electron microscopes for the examination. The results showed that the particles and surrounding materials contained no organic carbon, meaning that the possibility of human fabrication could be ruled out. There were no adhesives or any signs of human interference. In the second step, Dr. Cao analyzed the composition of the relics using electronic probes. The results revealed that the relic particles were made up of 4 main elements, with carbon accounting for an overwhelming 99.97%. The remaining composition consisted of sulfur, zinc, and silicon. These components are strikingly similar to those of diamond. Could it be that the Buddha's relics, sharira, are actually diamonds? Dr. Cao was skeptical. To verify this, he used 2 additional tools, a thermal conductivity meter and a pressure test device. Diamond is the highest-ranking material in terms of thermal conductivity in nature. Not only can no other gemstone surpass it, but no metal can either. This makes thermal conductivity measurement a reliable method for distinguishing between real and fake diamonds. Moreover, diamond ranks at the top of the Mohs hardness scale, with a value of 10, making it the hardest known material. Using pressure testing is also a reliable way to verify whether a material is truly a diamond. Dr. Cao measured the thermal conductivity and performed a pressure test on the relics. Under an applied pressure of 2,000 tons per square inch, the Buddha's relics remained completely intact, showing no signs of damage or change. These results indicate that the Buddha's relics possess properties comparable to those of diamond. Cao continued his analysis by measuring the physical properties of the relics. He employed X-ray diffraction, XRD, to examine the crystal structure. The primary function of XRD is to observe the crystalline composition of diamonds. To his amazement, the crystals within the relics revealed a clear hexagonal structure. In nature, crystals usually form with 3 axes intersecting at obtuse angles, while diamonds exhibit a cubic crystal structure. Hexagonal diamonds, however, only occur in meteorites from outer space, making this an extraordinary finding. This suggests that the Buddha's relics are not just ordinary diamonds, but could be meteorite diamonds originating from beyond Earth. According to Dr. Cao, this type of hexagonal diamond had only been observed once before, in a sample displayed at the Smithsonian Museum in Washington, D.C. So far, only 2 such meteorite diamonds have been discovered, one in the Smithsonian collection and another in China. This remarkable discovery implies that the Buddha's relics could be composed of extraterrestrial diamond material. Dr. Cao's amazement deepened when he magnified the relics 1,000 times under an electron microscope. Embedded within the crystal structures, he unexpectedly found miniature figures of a seated Buddha. These figures closely resembled the Southern Buddha images often depicted in Buddhist iconography. For a thorough and reliable conclusion, further tests would be required, ideally conducted in different laboratories under identical conditions to ensure the consistency of the results. Only after multiple assessments could a precise scientific conclusion be drawn. However, due to the sacred religious significance of the Buddha's relics, repeatedly performing such tests is challenging, as cooperation from religious devotees is often limited. The testing conducted at the Diamond Certification Center in Belgium remains a unique case in scientific research. Regardless of the scientific discoveries, it is now widely believed that the Buddha's relics are profoundly sacred and emit a powerful energy that brings blessings to those who encounter them. How should Buddha's relics be worshipped? The question of whether to worship Buddha's relics at home depends on the beliefs and faith of each individual. Buddhists who believe in the relic's spiritual power may experience their presence, but without faith, such blessings are unlikely to manifest. Reverence and devotion toward the Buddha's relics can offer Buddhists a chance to progress on their spiritual path. Some worship the relics as a way of honoring the Buddha himself, believing this practice will enhance their diligence and bring great blessings and wisdom. Additionally, the relics are seen as a source of inspiration, helping to transform individuals from hostile to kind-hearted, from unethical to virtuous. The manner in which relics are worshipped depends on the individual's karma. According to tradition, the relics are said to possess miraculous qualities, such as multiplying from few to many, shrinking or enlarging in size, becoming clearer, and emitting radiant halos of light. These transformations are believed to correlate with the devotee's sincerity and mindfulness during worship. Therefore, worshipping Buddha's relics at home demands the utmost devotion and reverence from practitioners.